Was Star Trek a low-budget show? Well, Star Trek had a low budget for what it was trying to pull off. Constantly building new sets, alien makeup, special effects, and an ensemble cast. But it wasn't a cheap show, broadly speaking. The first season of the original series cost about $190,000 per episode, and it only dropped to about $170,000 during its third season. Compare that to a sitcom during the same era that cost as little as $15,000 per episode, or maybe on the higher end about $100,000 for the top-rated shows, having casts that demanded a big salary. You can see how Star Trek was actually a pretty expensive show to produce. Even Bonanza, the highest-rated TV program, only cost about $100,000 to $150,000 per episode during that period. This, coupled with a misunderstanding of its audience to sell to advertisers, is actually the primary reason Star Trek got cancelled when its new owners, Gulf and Western, weren't willing to sink money into what it considered a bleeding asset. In fact, Star Trek was bleeding Desilu dry, but Lucille Ball believed in the show and fought with the board to keep it going. She knew she could make up current losses down the road with syndication, and indeed that's exactly what happened. Much like Enterprise in 2005, the original Star Trek fell victim to a corporate merger, whose new owners didn't see value in the show. It was expensive to produce and a hard sell to advertisers at the time who had a false understanding of Star Trek's audience. Let's be honest, Gulf and Western didn't want Desilu Studios for Star Trek. It wanted it for ownership of I Love Lucy, and for its studio lots, which were right next door to Paramount Pictures, and being utilized by such popular shows as The Andy Griffith Show, which, by the way, the streets of Mayberry were repurposed for the episode Miri, and Floyd's Barber Shop is plainly visible in The City on the Edge of Forever. It wasn't until its success in syndication that it realized the value of the show. So how about budgets of the spin-off shows? Well, The Next Generation had a budget of about $2 million per episode from the fourth season onward. This is comparable to Cheers, which was the most watched television show at the time. Deep Space Nine was around $4 million per episode during its final seasons. Putting that into perspective, Friends was about $10 million per episode during its final season, 5 years after the conclusion of Deep Space Nine. But that's with each of the 6 cast members receiving $1 million per episode. Enterprise was the only Trek series that can truly qualify as a small budget, with only $1.6 to $1.7 million per episode and down to a measly $800,000 per episode in its final season. Now, the term per episode budget is somewhat misleading because Star Trek actually received a season budget, which it then would allocate accordingly. This is why bottle shows arose, to solve budget overruns during the season. If you like this content and want to see more like this, support the channel by subscribing and following. Check out these other videos, or visit strekonline.com for even more content.